Happy Wednesday, family. This is Neil Adler with another episode of Syracuse Central on the Fan Arch Network. Happy Wednesday. It is hump day. It's April 1st, April Fools. Okay, so this is Syracuse Central. We talk about Syracuse sports and whatever else you want to talk about here. Shout out to Underdog Fantasy for sponsoring our program. Much love, Underdog. We appreciate you. Okay, what's the worst? I don't know if worst is the right word. What's the worst or the best like April Fool's prank you've either pulled on someone else or you've fallen for? Don't hold back now. Come on. I know this has nothing to do with Syracuse sports. Although I'm going to do my best when I'm scouring the internet today, social media, for article ideas and ideas for Syracuse Central. I'll try not to get duped. I had the powers that be for the company that runs Inside the Loud House, as well as I do some general college basketball writing for another site, not Syracuse related. And the editors, I got a mass email from both this morning saying, "Ladies and gents, don't get duped. It's April Fools." So anyway, what's the best dupe you've ever given out or gotten? I'm trying to think. Nothing is coming to me off the top of my head. I have to think about that some more. I'm gonna sit here and think about that while I drink my iced coffee. I love iced coffee. I know this is again has nothing to do with Syracuse sports, but I love like one iced coffee in the morning, even when it's not super warm out. It's so delicious with little zero sugar hazelnut creamer. Ugh, the best. All right, fine. So I got all that out of the way. Now I got to go to some bummer news. So this is a segment or a show about Syracuse basketball, but the first segment is about someone that plays on the basketball team but is really a football star, but I can't ignore it. So I'm sure some of you might have already heard, but Calvin Russell is out indefinitely after he suffered an injury during spring practices. Fran Brown announced on Tuesday. We don't know when he's coming back. We don't know if he'll be back for the spring. We don't know if he'll play this season. We don't know anything. And I get privacy and all that. The statement from Fran Brown just mentioned being out indefinitely, but then there was another quote. Let me read it to you if you haven't heard it already. From Fran Brown, "I'm confident Calvin will return stronger because of our culture, commitment to our players, and the relationship Calvin, his family, and I have. Calvin, best believe Orange Nation's got your back." Okay, look, I don't want to be like you know me, like I'm overly positive, probably way too much, orange colored glasses on, all that stuff. But like that statement was, and I love Fran Brown and I'm rooting for Calvin. Doesn't that seem weird? When I first saw that statement yesterday, I was like, what is, I mean, look, I understand about Calvin's strong relationship with Fran Brown and his Calvin Russell's family and all that, but like, if I'm being like kind of whatever, like, what does their relationship have to do with him making a speedy and efficient recovery, like from an injury? I don't know. It just, it gave me more questions than answers. And I know they can't talk about, or they might choose to not talk about, a lot of stuff related to injuries, especially because it's spring practice right now. It's not like it's the season where there'll be availability reports during ACC games. But that statement was just kind of weird. It's like I didn't understand what Calvin's relationship with Fran Brown has to do with him getting back from his injury as quickly as possible. So anyway, Calvin played on the basketball team this year. He played in one game for like a couple minutes. Obviously, his focus is, he's a 5-star incoming freshman wide receiver. So I guess this is more of a football story than anything. But, again, given that he does play for the... One thing I'll be interested to ask about, down the line, it's not something that needs to necessarily be brought up anytime soon, but like, what is the plan for Calvin? And I'm getting ahead of myself, but would he be playing on the basketball team next season? It's not Autry anymore and his staff. It's Jerry McNamara. And I don't know if Jerry McNamara ever had developed any sort of relationship with Calvin Russell because he's been at Siena the last 2 years. I don't remember when Syracuse first offered Calvin a scholarship, Syracuse football. But anyway, you know, that's kind of secondary. The main thing is for him to get, it would just like someone said something on the internet, like, and this is like an ongoing thing I've noticed dating way back to before my like media quasi media member days. It was more just being on social media and people or in chat rooms, and people will say things like when there's like an injury like this, or like Syracuse comes up short in a game or misses out on a big recruit, like people like a common like verbiage, idiom, whatever, is like Syracuse can't have nice things. And look, this stuff happens all over the place. Injuries is an unfortunate part of all sports, especially football. But yeah, it's just like, ugh, we've got all this buzz, excitement about Jerry McNamara. Although, look, he hasn't even named a staff yet, and there's a lot of work to be done with the roster. But you've got all that, and then the football team's coming off a disappointing season, but granted, their quarterback was like, I think their quarterback situation will be better this year, God willing, even if Angeli got injured. But they were 3-9, but then they bring in this, one of their best recruiting class ever at the prep level, and Calvin Russell is their highest ranked commit, signee, whatever, in 2+ decades, and he gets injured. But look, I don't want to overblow it. Maybe he will be back soon, or maybe he won't. I don't know, but if he misses the season, and it's just like, ugh, Syracuse. Why can't we have nice things? But it's not about me. It's I'm wishing Calvin all the best and on a speedy recovery. Okay, so Jerry McNamara has said that he met with players last week, and he's having more existing roster members from 2025-26 met with them last week, and some additional meetings this week, trying to determine retention efforts and all that. But some guys are going to leave, and I've talked about this a little bit on Syracuse Central, certainly on Inside the Loud House, written columns. But the first name popped out yesterday. Donna DeToda at Syracuse.com had the scoop. Aaron Womack, who is a freshman wing at Syracuse, plans to enter the portal when it opens a week from yesterday, Tuesday the 7th. And this isn't a surprise. He redshirted this past season, didn't play at all, but this isn't a surprise. He was recruited by the former staff. Then again, a lot of guys on the... But GMAC definitely is maybe more familiar with some of the guys, on the existing roster versus Aaron Womack per se. Kyan Anthony comes to mind among others. But look, wishing Aaron well. He's got 4 years of eligibility left. He came to Syracuse as like a 3-star, top 350 national prospect from the Milwaukee area, but he can really score. And, it just obviously with the change in staff and him not, redshirting and everything, we'll see more of this today and into the coming days. And I'll obviously keep tabs on it, but, wishing Aaron well. On the women's side, I just wanted to mention there was also a freshman. Her name is Justice Fitzgerald, freshman forward from Roswell, Georgia, near Atlanta. She played in 11 games this past season. She announced on Instagram she plans to enter the portal. So the portal for the women's side is open from April 6th to April 20th. On the men's side, it's the 7th to the 21st of April. We talked about Syracuse retaining Uche Ezoche, which is huge. But yeah, this isn't a surprise about Aaron Womack, and, wishing him well. I think he could carve out a nice college career. I don't know if it'd be at the high major level or mid major or whatever, but the dude can score. He's a talented wing. This stuff kind of happens. It is what it is. All right. Fast breaks, buzzer beaters, and block parties are back, and Underdog is the best place to get in on all the action. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like points, rebounds, steals, and more. Get your picks right, and you could win up to 5,000 times your cash this week on Underdog. So I'm looking today, focused on the big men. Terrace Reed, the big man from UConn, they play Illinois in the Final Four on Saturday. 15.5 points. I feel like that was around his season average, but he's been awesome in the tournament. I mean, he's done really well. So 15 and a half points, I'll go higher with that. Absolutely. Download the app today and use promo code BasketballFan to score $75 in bonus entries when you make your first when you play your first $5. That's promo code BasketballFan. Underdog. Make picks. Win money.
Must be 18 plus. 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska. 19 plus in Colorado for some games. 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia. And present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Assets.underdogfantasy.com/playing. Get terms. DFSTML for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit www.ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 helpline at 1-878 or text POMI 467-369.
All right, we are back. And speaking of transfer portal stuff, let me make sure I get the media outlet right. Field of 68 reported that Francis Folafak, who was on the MAC all-rookie team at Siena this past season, plans to enter the transfer portal. Started most of their games, or a good amount of their games, averaged about 11 points, 5 boards, 2 assists, just over 1 block per game. I think that he could definitely end up at Syracuse. He shot 51% from the field, 37% from beyond the arc, 74% from the free throw line. He is from not my hometown, but my hometown region. He's from the DMV. He's 6'7", 245, freshman forward. He played at Mount Zion Prep, which is where I've mentioned Mount Zion Prep before. They're in Lanham, Maryland, in Prince George's County, not far from me. And I've talked about Mount Zion a little bit. They play on the grind session now, but one of their star players this season is Zion Green, a 2027 5-star power forward, and he was being prioritized by the former Syracuse staff. I'm just bringing this up because my point here is that Mount Zion Prep definitely appears to have good relationships with Syracuse, and I assume that will continue with GMAC and his staff. But Folafak, I feel like he could definitely end up at Syracuse. I'm not saying he'd be like a starter or a main rotational player. Maybe not. I mean, some fans are saying, "Oh, we don't want Siena guys. We're not building a Siena pipeline." Well, regardless of Siena, it's not uncommon for mid-major guys to transfer to the high major level and do well. And he's only a freshman, and he had a nice season. And I think he did in the when Siena played Duke, lost to Duke by 6 points. I think he had like 18 points. That was the first round of the NCAA tournament. So look, he's definitely on the radar of high major teams, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if he ends up at Syracuse. I'm not saying he's going to, and GMAC and his staff aren't really supposed to talk to him until April 7th when he's in the portal, but we'll see. All right, a couple comments here from y'all. Tim writes, this was a great presser, almost culmination type moment. I don't necessarily believe in meant to be, but that felt about as close as it gets. Tim was talking about Jerry's event and then presser on Monday. And yeah, I totally agree. It was just so awesome. And then MyMac, we're talking about money stuff here. MyMac mentions, I probably should not have mentioned endowments yesterday, as they tend to be separate from donations, which you're right. Endowments tend to be reinvested and used as income for the long term. Donations more discretionary, tax deductible. I haven't even mentioned TV deals, apparel, ticket sales, etc. 1.6 billion. Neil just asking for 1%. Our family paid for preferred seating for football, basketball for over 30 years. I believe the fans, myself included, would like a better understanding of what I'm missing here. MyMac, I'll try and get more information about that. I mean, I would be the first to admit to you that I certainly have a pretty good grasp on NIL and rev share and all that, but like in terms of SU's endowment and the regulations around that, or just endowments in general, like I'll have to look into that more, and like how endowments, are they used for athletic purposes, how much, like, but it could be a cool story, MyMac. So I'll see if I can get more information. I'll tell you, SU Athletics doesn't really like to give me much. I don't know if it's because it's just me and I'm unimportant, or they just don't like to give information by and large to anyone. But I could also certainly try and talk to some other just like general experts about this topic, whether it relates to SU or not, because it's interesting. So I appreciate your thoughts there, MyMac. And then Peace Love, my man, writes, GMAC he writes a bunch of stuff, but I just wanted to touch on a couple things. GMAC will succeed where Red didn't because he's a better teacher and he holds his players accountable. I love Red. He's a great guy and an excellent recruiter, but he's too quote unquote nice for lack of a better word. He knows how to preach, say the right things, but he doesn't know how to teach, and he never held the players accountable. He likes the parent. He's like the parent that wants to be friends with their kids rather than being a parent, and that approach results in a noticeable lack of discipline on the court throughout the past 2 seasons. Um, yeah, it's interesting. Peace, love. Like that's something I struggle with my own son. Sometimes I work with a family therapist on this because sometimes I struggle with, I want to have fun with my kid and my time with him is more limited than, some parents. But hey, listen, I don't take it for granted. But it's like I just want to have fun with him and all that. But I got to remember sometimes that we can be buds, but I'm also still one of his parents. So, his dad. So I hear you. And look, I agree with you, Peace Love. I think Red Autry is a really nice guy, and I think he could be a good maybe a being a head coach of a mid-major is more his fit, at least initially, get his feet wet more, or go back to being like an associate or assistant coach at a high major and be a lead recruiter. I mean, I've even seen some, I don't like to blow smoke or whatever, but I've seen some rumblings on different social media and chat rooms that maybe he might have found another assistant coaching job in the ACC, but I don't know that for sure. But yeah, I just don't think, like, I feel like Jerry still can be a lovable, nice, kind guy, just like caring guy, just like Red. But I also feel like he can also be, for lack of a better word, kind of a badass. Excuse my language, just in terms of holding players accountable. But again, being kind to them, not being a jerk just to be a jerk like some other coaches out there. But also having that, accountability and saying, look, you're not getting on the court if you're not, giving your all on every single play, playing defense, regardless of the score, getting whether they're winning big, losing big, or whatever. So, again, time will tell, but I agree with you, Peace Love. I think maybe GMAC has that kind of personality where it's like a good blend of good cop, bad cop, or whatever. I don't know however you want to call it, but those are good thoughts, and wishing Autry well. And I think I saw something on social media also that his son is maybe entering the portal. He has been playing at GW. So look, wishing the Autry family well. Great comments, friends. Appreciate y'all. All right, this is Neil Adler with Syracuse Central on the Fan Arch Network. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Drop me comments about what you want to talk about. Shout out to Underdog for sponsoring our program. I appreciate y'all so much. Have a great rest of your Wednesday. I will talk to you again on Thursday. Take care, friends.